All right, everybody, welcome to the Alchemy Podcast. Really fired up for today's guest, who is a newer friend, and we've worked together, and I got to spend some time at Alchemy Fest. Josh Holland is our guest today. So, Josh, welcome to the call, brother. Not to the call. Welcome to the podcast. I'm used to saying to the call because Alchemy calls.
Baby.
Welcome to the pod. It's great to have you here, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have you on because a couple of reasons, right? So, I know that you are a high performer in your industry, and I know that you have a podcast, and you probably talk a lot about more like tactical insights, how to grow a business, how to grow your business, how to be effective as a leader. And at the same time, just from my perspective, right, since I met you at the Alchemy Summit in January,
Yeah.
I've noticed a massive change in your personal development. Not just within work, and I think as your personal development grows, right, so does your business.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason why you've seen such massive success in your career recently, is because it seems like you've gone through a massive transformation yourself. I mean, does that sound fair?
Totally. Yeah. I know for sure.
Yeah. So tell us real quickly about, for those that don't know, right, you're obviously in door to door. Where I don't even know this. Where did you get started at Vivint?
No, I wish.
Yeah.
I wish. No, I started. I found door to door through KSL classifieds.
No way.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I got home from my mission, was playing lacrosse up at Westminster, and met my wife, and I was like, love this girl, freaking A, like let's get married.
Wait, I want to slow this down here real quick, because because we just got back from Alchemy Fest. We were getting weird in the teepee with Annalicia.
Oh yeah.
She was doing her freaking Kundalini, man. It was, the vibes were on.
I'll never forget that girl. Jeez.
And you were telling me you locked it down really early.
Yeah. My wife she had just turned 19 when we got married. So we dated for a year. But yeah, I mean, it was quick. I mean, typical return missionary Utah story there.
So you're home from the mission. You're like, I got to lock this down.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was like, I met her when she was 17.
Okay.
She came walking. I will never forget it. I was working at a women's boutique outlet warehouse.
You were working there.
I was working there. Her older brother worked there too. I went to high school with him. We didn't know each other. He was a year older than me. She was in high school, and then she started working part-time. So when I was leaving, like midday, she was coming in, and I saw her, and I was like, who is that? And I was like, dude, she's just drop dead gorgeous. And then everyone was like, oh, dude, that's Ty's little sister. She's in high school. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. And then that summer, she came on full-time. We became really good friends, and she's actually the one asking me out.
She asked you out?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, she was flirty.
Yeah.
You know, we would flirt, and I was dating some older girls, and I was kind of like in a phase where I was like, man, like girls are weird. Like, I don't know, like, especially Utah, like depends on where you're dating. It's like Salt Lake's got a vibe, Provo's got a vibe. And a lot of these girls in their 20s, it was, I don't know, I feel like they were like looking for tool bags almost. Like, and I was like, I don't know like who to date. So I was just cautious. I was like, she's just so young. She's like, hey, like take me dancing, these types of things. And I was like, yeah, you know, like maybe.
So she's literally begging you.
I don't know about begging, but like definitely insinuating.
Yeah.
And then finally she turned 18 and she was like, hey, I want to go country dancing with you. I was like, all right, I'll go, but you got to come pick me up. So she did. She rolled up on her little
You made her pick you up.
Volkswagen Bug. And then I paid.
What a move.
I don't know where it came from, but I was like, all right, if we're going to go, you pick me up. And she did. And we went country dancing. And it was funny. My dad was there with his buddy. I was living at my parents' house in West Jordan. And she came walking up, you know, cute little cowgirl shorts, little tank tops and boots. And he looked at me and he's like, you are done.
Toast.
Sure enough, we, went on that date. And ever since I knew we were locking it down.
So were you guys like, after that date, it was like
Yeah.
Was it a slow burn or were you guys just like,
I mean, we
boom?
already knew each other so
Yeah,
well because
yeah, yeah.
we were great friends.
Yeah.
Like we really were friends. Flirty, but like nothing ever happened. And then after that, it was like, hey, like this is my person.
So I'm gonna pause you there because I mean I'm single.
Yeah.
But I haven't found a partner. Will I someday? I don't know. Maybe, probably. Right. People always say that like this is my person.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Sure.
Like how would you tell me what that was like for you?
I mean, dude, it's so easy to look at that now and say this is my person. I don't know if I like felt that exactly. I knew that she was special, that we connected, and like the terms that I'm using now, I didn't know how to speak that language then. So I'm putting words in my 22-year-old self that didn't know like what that meant. I just knew what I felt. And I think that I knew I had like when I saw her, I was like, I knew where she was going. I was like, this girl is going to be something pretty incredible. And that really drew me in. And then it took me a while to admit that I loved her because I was scared. I didn't want to I'd never said that to anybody like, oh, I love you. And I didn't know what it was. I was pretty out of tune. Like, I mean, me and you have had pretty deep conversation about this. Like I was really out of tune emotionally until these past couple of years, honestly. So like, I think I was just afraid to put myself out there enough to risk it, and tell her. But yeah, I mean, we probably dated for 4 or 5 months and then I told her and then I was like,
what was that like?
That was, scary.
Yeah.
I think if I'm being honest, it was like, oh, like I'm actually telling somebody, I'm actually going to do it, and you're so young, like you're like 22 years old. And especially like a return missionary, you think you know what life is and you just have no idea still.
Yeah.
So I think it was a lot to, I don't know, just admit, but empowering also, like connecting with somebody like that for the first time.
How was it received?
Oh, dude. Yeah. She was like, she loved me for sure. Yeah.
She was in.
Yeah. She was for sure.
She was in. So you guys have been together for how long now?
Just celebrated our 10-year anniversary.
10 years.
The day I got back from Alchemy Fest.
Congrats, man.
Yeah.
What's the secret to 10 years?
I don't even know where to start. Honestly, I'd say just doing everything you can to have like a real relationship with you. Like anytime you feel like it's turned into like a roommate situation, like you gotta have like a design, we talk about all the time, like of what do you want out of this? Cause it's so easy to just meander through a marriage. I mean, I felt that we've had some rough spots, especially like midway.
Yeah.
I look at like what our marriage was then. I didn't think there was anything wrong. That's because I didn't know what I was feeling. She knew, but didn't know how to tell me. And, versus like what our marriage is at now, it is night and day difference. And you don't know because it's like a lobster or whatever, like the crab being boiled, just slow heat. And you just become accustomed to like what this is and it becomes normal, but it's actually not normal. So I'd say like the ability to truly have recognize when that's happening is a huge key.
Was there like a breaking point or a moment where you're like, whoa, I actually have to really reassess this because the wheels are coming off? Like what was that pivot moment for you?
Pivot moment in our marriage happened when I was like, I don't like who I've become. And then really, it was slowly, like, I feel like ever since 2021 has been like where I've had like a big shift in me. And then it opened me up to being able to see like, man, I'm just not emotionally available for my spouse. And that is so hard for her that it's actually taken years for her to get used to me being like, to have any type of ability to connect emotionally.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, that I would say like right before then, if it would have kept going and like nothing changed, like I don't think we'd be married.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would hope that she would, like if I wasn't going to change, that she would have gone a different route.
Yeah. Well, it seems like she really kind of pokes you and pushes you to grow.
She's great, dude. She's one of the most in tune people with like other people. Like she can feel you.
Yeah.
And a lot of husbands will say that. You'd be like, my wife just knew this about that person.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about women in general, but yeah, she's definitely one of those people that like, she can feel your vibe, and she's hasn't been wrong for me personally. Like she's
tapped in.
She's tapped in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Long way of getting back to Craigslist or KSL.
I forgot that.
KSL.
Dude, yeah. I was like, I want to marry this girl.
Yeah.
I have no money. I looked up sales jobs on KSL. It said Sell Dish Network, DirecTV. Clicked it, filled out the thing, showed up for an interview, ended up being some random dude's house. I got there. I was like, hey, is this John? Like, and he's like, yeah, you Josh? I was like, where's the store? Like, I thought I was going to like an Xfinity store.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like that for Dish or DirecTV. He's like, oh, there's no store. He's like, my office is being worked on, right? It's under construction. He didn't have an office. Sure. It was just like this little dealer guy in Salt Lake, and sat down at a little kid table and literally with crayons.
No way.
Oh yeah. And in a suit.
Yeah.
Like I was ready.
You're ready to
I had
put
my
on
resume,
a good first impression.
I had my resume out. This guy was like, oh dude, I gotta lock this dude down.
Lay down.
So I go, I'm talking to him and he goes, no, it's door to door. And I was like, okay, explain to me what that is. And he's like, I'll show you everything you need to know. And I said, all I care about is what can I make? And he's like, I'll pay you $50 a deal. I said, okay, how many deals can I do in a day? 3. And I was like, you're telling me I can make $150 a day? And he's like, yeah. I was like, sign me up. And then I just started working in Tooele. I load up in a van with these chain smoker dudes. We drive out to Tooele. I would go get 2 or 3 every day. Those guys would mostly bagel. Sounds like they were probably making overrides off of me or something. Yeah. Like they were getting because $50 in
it's not a lot.
On satellite.
There's a lot of margin there. There's a lot of margin there.
There's this booty. So, but then Cam Gray, he's big brother to me. He actually, I ran into him at the gym. We've known each other for, almost 20 years, but, he was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm selling Dish. He's like, dude, I'm a manager for Clear Satellite in Nebraska. Like, what are you getting paid? I was like, $50. And he's like, dude, you're getting, that's booty. And he's like, come work for me. I'll pay you $250. And I was like, and I went out there, and that was how I entered door to door.
Yeah. What summer was that?
13.
Summer 2013.
Yeah.
So you pack up, we're going to Nebraska.
Went out there, ripped till the end of summer, came back, got my wife a ring, got married. And then I was still in school at Westminster thinking that I was going to become a marriage and family therapist and get my PhD in clinical psychology. Like that was the route.
Yeah.
And ended up looking at like what that path really looked like from an income standpoint. And I was like, dude, I don't know if that's it. So I kept in door to door. And then, I did one summer with Alder, ended up going back to satellite with Cam. And then I was at Caliber Dish One until 2022. And that's right when Solar Pro started, and we stopped doing like the T-Mobile and all the other products and shifted to solar specific and started down the solar coaster.
The solar coaster, man. It's a wild ride.
Oh my gosh, it's insane.
Yeah. One thing I want to pinpoint that I'm seeing here is, you said you're going to go to school for marriage and family and as a therapist, right? Yeah. And it seems like you've always had this, I don't know if it's a curiosity about development, personal development, emotional development. I mean, you've went through it in your own life, and my experience of you is you've really taken your personal development very, very seriously.
Totally.
Has that always been kind of like a part of who you are? Was there an experience you had as a kid where you're like, these topics of emotional or personal self-growth are exciting to me? Or would you say it's more of just kind of who you are?
Oof, that's a great question. I mean, obviously, like, I've always had a hunger for progression, and I've had great mentors that have been like, that taught me like the whole person paradigm. It's like, oh, mental, spiritual, physical, financial, like that we hear from all of the greats. They all talk about that. So I think like I heard, like being exposed to door got me in that, like, hey, outside of sports and things, like, let's be good in other areas. But I don't think I really took it. I don't think I truly understood like what that meant and like what it would take. I think I was pretty ego driven and thought I was the shit for a long time. And that I was kind of like, oh, I read that book, I'm good now kind of mentality. But I think not seeing progression the way that I wanted to in my career in door to door. And honestly, just like kind of getting my face kicked in by losing a lot of people and rebuilding multiple times. That's when I was like, man, like, what am I doing wrong? And really confronting a lot of brutal facts.
Yeah. What was the brick in the face moment for you on that piece?
Oh, dude, it was, I became a regional at Caliber in like 2018. Had a business partner who, phenomenal recruiter, just so slick with his words, like one of the best salesmen you've ever seen, but, had character issues like financially and past drug issues. And our relationship ended up like not working. So I broke off from him and I had 0 people in 2021, like the start of, so the end of 2020, I broke off with him and, being like, hey, I'm starting over at that point. And, that year I felt like I was like, man, like, who do I need to be? That was the first time I asked myself, like, who do I need to become to be the guy that hundreds of people want to follow? And it was not having anyone and literally starting from 0 in January of 2021. And then, recruiting enough people to go out and, I think I recruited a team of 25 that I led. And then I recruited another group up in Dallas. We're doing T-Mobile Internet.
Yeah.
It's like this new thing. And, I had about 70 guys that I recruited from January to April. Like it was, your back's up against the wall. Like you gotta go make it happen. And, that was like really the first time I started looking inward. I'm like, man, like what am I not able to give people? And I've never thought of that before. I thought I had everything.
What came up when you asked that question? What am I not able to give people? What came up for you?
Oh, I had, it was hard for me to connect with people. And cause you get burned in the industry.
Yeah.
So you feel vulnerable. It's like the I love you thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to give all of myself to this person and like really try and help them. And then they're going to leave me.
Yeah. Painful.
Yeah, it is painful. There's trauma in a way associated with that. So I think that, I had shut off, and I was afraid to fail or like to do the hard work. And I wanted to skip steps. Up to that point, I think that, I realized that everything I tried to do in door to door was to skip steps, like get the higher pay scale, maneuver my way around to get higher leadership or not have to go do the thing that's going to create, a massive network and go like be a true leader, like really be able to be the one that get out there and do whatever's required at the time. It was kind of that realization. I was like, man, I'm always trying to do the least amount and just make money.
Right.
There was really no like vision, I'd say.
Yeah. And so it seems like, this, you're making a pivot moment right here where it's like, hey, actually I'm the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you start committing into your development and your growth. And we were talking earlier about like mentorship and were there books, were there courses, was it mentorship? Like where were you seeking your inspiration from?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
I was like begging for it. I still feel like I'm that way.
Yeah.
I think once you start to taste it, you're like, I felt like I've been making up for lost time. And it was slow. Like I read Think and Grow Rich, but I didn't just read it. I studied Think and Grow Rich.
Immerse yourself in it.
Oh yeah. Like I'm listening to it. I'm reading it on a Kindle and I'm taking notes on a split screen and I'm going through the workbook, like that level.
Yeah.
And, those things. And then I had some good mentors at the time, like Mark Cram, at Caliber was, he was a big influence there. Cam Gray, Chris Malik, those guys were always like examples, but I do feel like I just pieced together from different people, like what I needed. Cause I think I assumed that a mentor was somebody that was going to have everything for you when that's just not the case. And like, that it needs to be like this person that's like, you're so connected with, they can do everything. And it's like, no, you can take bits and pieces from people you've never even met. Like I've never met Casey Bob, but he's been a mentor to me. Jeff Menn has been a mentor. Todd Peterson's been a mentor. You've been a mentor. And we're not like crazy close yet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we've gotten way closer, but it's early on in our relationship. So I think I was just hungry for that.
Yeah, I think, you're beautifully putting it together. It's almost like you're putting together a puzzle.
Yeah.
And you take your favorite pieces from all of these people that, spark inspiration within you, and you create your own masterpiece.
Yeah.
And it's it never ends.
Never ends. That's what's
ends.
so cool. Is like, dude, you can just keep working on this
Yeah,
thing.
you can always keep adding to it on that piece. I'm curious, what mistakes did you make along the way after when you had to rebuild?
I mean, not like inability to delegate.
Yeah.
Thinking like bottlenecking your business. Like I'll never that T-Mobile. I have it marked as T-Mobile. I was doing T-Mobile before that, but there's this T-Mobile internet summer where I broke off from my previous partner. Recruited all these new guys from BYU, Idaho. Go out to Houston. I'm running the team, and just how complex that product was. Like if there was ever any advice I would give people, like don't try and sell complicated products. Do products that other people have done and figured all that stuff out. Don't be the guinea pig.
Yeah.
I tried to be the guinea pig because I thought it would get me ahead faster. That's so much harder. But that summer I learned very quickly, like I am at my capacity. I was literally on the phone from 8 a.m., ran correlation. I didn't delegate correlations. I ran
everything.
Everything, dude. Like area management. Like I'm trying to sell. It was chaos. And then my good friend Ryan Olson, who was our VP of T-Mobile, he died at the beginning of that summer in a car accident.
Wow.
He's one of my best friends.
Wow.
And he was really like the only other person that knew the product well besides me. So like, he knew it better than me, obviously, but so it kind of fell on me to answer questions for not just my network, but the entire company. And it was crazy. And I did not delegate. I tried to do everything, and my wife was pregnant. That year I'll never forget. It was like definitely one of those pivot, not like a moment, just like a year of
lessons.
The first day we got to Houston, my wife's pregnant. We have our 2 dogs. We got there too late to be able to check into our apartment. And dude, we have a house. We went from not needing to go out for the summer to being like, okay, I'm willing to go back out, run teams. And so we moved there. And the next morning we go out, we're staying at the only hotel that had availability. Next morning we go out there, and someone had broken into our U-Haul and stole all of our shit.
No.
First day. That year was insane for me. It was absolutely insane.
How did you respond to that?
I have a picture, a selfie of me and my wife flipping off, whoever it was that stole our stuff. But yeah.
So you guys just got ransacked.
Dude, just took all of our stuff.
Yeah.
It sucked. But it was, just roll with it.
Yeah.
My wife's so great that way. She was like, hey, we're in it, let's do it. But that year I learned so much. I made up for trying to skip steps for the previous 3 or 4 years in leadership to I got baptized by fire.
Yeah.
That 1 year.
Yeah.
So,
man, it seems like a lot of the kind of the growth and the kind of the lessons kind of stemmed from that kind of experience right there too.
2021, man.
And it sounds like it's super cool too. Going back, it sounds like you are also able to navigate it too, because you have a wife who's all in.
Dude, it'd be impossible to do that without her. No question.
Yeah. What role does that play in it, having a supportive spouse in this thing?
It's everything, dude. It's literally the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. And so how has that been, right? So then 2021 is feels like it was the year of the lessons.
Oh yeah.
Right. Pay the piper.
It bled over to 22 for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So eventually you make the jump over to solar, right? And where I really I'm really curious with you is you have seen, based upon the work you've put in on your personal development and your emotional capacity and kind of your personal work that you've done, right, is now showing in your production this year. Because you've just on a very statistical basis, share kind of statistically numbers for last year versus this year.
2022, we did 300 sales in solar. Lost all of our guys that year again. So I rebuilt in the start of 2023. And then we did about 700 installs in 23. So that was a big breakout year. Most of that happened towards the end of 23, and that fell into 24. And this year we've sold 3,400 solar accounts.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like that's better than most companies in solar are doing.
Yeah.
Right. And you're crushing it, right?
Yeah.
What characteristic traits do you see in the people you're recruiting that are necessary and needed to maintain high levels of performance?
What characteristics?
Yeah. What characteristic traits because obviously you're leading from the front, right? And, you talked about delegation, right? Which I'm assuming is something you've been delegating, right? To do 3,400 accounts, you have to delegate.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
What characteristic traits do you see your leaders underneath you embody to maintain high levels of performance?
Dude, our guys are awesome. Our core group is, I think something that's hard to understand for people to understand is I have not worked with most of these guys for very long at all. Like usually when you have a network this size, it's built up from like 5, 6, 7 years. We've pieced this together and had to create culture in Relentless in a year and a half, almost 2 years. And the guys that we've found and like, I feel like maybe attracted a lot are just some of the highest quality guys I've ever been around. Just high character. Like if they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it, like servant leadership, like really wanting to take care of their people, like more than I've ever seen, like not money driven. I was so used to being around guys that that's a huge part and it's very important, but it's not any of these guys like sole goal. You know what I mean? It's deeper. Like the vision is strong for sure.
Yeah. It seems from my perspective, it seems like there's been a direct correlation of your personal development and your growth with your performance, right? One of my favorite quotes, as I coach a lot of people and work with a lot of leaders is you can only take people as deep as you've taken yourself.
Yeah.
Right. You can't, if you're a level 6, you can't recruit and coach a level 8.
Can't do it.
Right. So you've got to be willing to do the work. You've got to be willing to look at the parts of yourself you don't want to look at. You got to have the hard conversations, right? It seems like you did that in your marriage where it's like, hey, I've realized I'm not emotionally available, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice as you became more emotionally available in your marriage, did that translate into your relationship with your reps?
Totally.
And what difference did you see there?
Yeah. Like we'll survey our guys, and I've some feedback I got prior to, being more in tune emotionally was that I wasn't approachable. Like my reps didn't feel like they could approach me. They felt like they were a number, right? They knew that I was driven. I wanted to do big things, but it was for me. And now I sometimes still view myself that way because that's the feedback. And then I'll ask them and they'll be like, no, dude, you're like one of the most understanding, emotionally available people I know. And I'm like, okay, like that's just different. So absolutely has helped be way more empathetic. And then you can lead, like, the cliche lines we hear in leadership. It's like touch a heart before you ask for a hand. Those types of things, like they're universal principles and they're laws. Like you have to get deeper with someone to be able to get them to do more. And I think that, not that we've arrived or anything there, but like that's
made progress.
Oh, for sure. Like I've never seen this strong, I guess.
Yeah. And in my experience too, having gone through a similar path, right? To become emotionally available and open for other people to approach you, you have to be emotionally in tune with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, going through my journey, my healing journey and my growth journey, my spiritual journey, right? That requires having some difficult conversation with yourself.
Oh yeah.
And looking at parts of your life that maybe you don't want to look at. Right. And I know I look back at my life and, feeling, because I grew up, there's a lot of pieces to it, but like growing up as the fat kid and maybe being looked over, that created a sense of insecurity. And because I was insecure, now I had to prove to everybody why I was great and amazing. And so all of my performance was based upon hoping to get validation. And it got really, really messy in my early years of Vivint. And it wasn't until, for me, 2017, 2018 of like doing the inner work of like, okay, I actually have to heal this wound myself.
Yeah.
Can't expect a partner or a money or validation to do it for me. And it's just really deep work. Right. And, I love having here because it's such a testament that as you were like, have the hard conversation of like, there's something wrong with me. I've got some work to do. And then a byproduct of that is your now ability to affect and help others and inspire others, right? Which now increases your ability to make money and have influence and build your business on that capacity. And it's not easy. Mm-mm. It's hard. And it actually reminds me, you were telling me this, right? I didn't know who you were before Alchemy Summit. I know you signed up. I did, Jeff Menez's thing and shared, and then you signed up. And you shared a story with me about you joining Alchemy.
Yeah.
Right? I'd love to hear you share in detail on that piece.
Yeah. I think 2020, to kind of bring this together, like 2021 really was that year where I was, maybe the end of 21, like start of 22 was really the year I was like, let's confront brutal facts. Like, what are the facts? Like, where am I spiritually? Where am I physically? Where am I mentally? Where am I emotionally? And I'm a big scale of 1 to 10 guy. So I always ask him, like, this question, scale of 1 to 10, where am I? Boom, you're at a 4. It's like, okay, how do we make up 8 points? Whatever it is. Or 6 points. I think that transitioned into, man, like, I want more. Like, so I'm going to go find it. So that's what led me to, sign up for the Jeff Menez event. And then that led to going to your Alchemy conference. And then there I was, you pitched the actually joining Alchemy and like the costs. And you're like, oh man, like, do I want to spend that? And I was just I was like, I had a goal. I'm going to spend $30,000 on self-development this year. And that stems of like, I want to be able to offer my guys more. Cause like, you really are the lid. And it's like, you can't just be great over here and then terrible over here. If you really want to lead and impact, and be able to give more, like, you have to be better. So I was like, okay, like, this looks like the spot. But we did the whole conference. At the end, you kind of made your pitch, and then we had like a couple hours before breath work, and I was sitting in my rental car, and I had like filled out everything, and I was just like gonna hit submit to pay for it. And I just like felt like so much opposition. Like, I don't like want to do it. Like, why? And it was like this weird dialogue in my head of, well, you said you were going to do something like this. And I was like, well, what if I don't want to do this one? What if I go and look somewhere else? And maybe there's more out there. But yeah, the chances of you actually doing that are pretty low. Like, just commit, like, just do something, like, just start digging somewhere. And I was like, fine, I just freaking hit it. But there was a lot of opposition. That's actually what pushed me over the edge was, why is there so much?
Yeah. What do you think that was?
I believe in the law of opposition. I think like when there's a force going against you in some type of opposition, it's a mere reflection of the benefits from the other side. It has to be that way. It has to. That's why marriage and kids and like and like great relationships are what they are, because there are the lows. That's the only way you get the highs. If you don't have that, then you just stay here. So I think that it was, to me, I just took that as evidence of a force telling me how good it was going to be, rather than like that I didn't want to do it. So I was like, just do it. So we did it.
You made the leap.
Made the leap, dude.
Made the leap, man. Yeah, we've been working together for a couple months now, and who would have thought that button press would have got you to the redwoods?
Yeah,
and this we haven't had this conversation yet, so I'm really open to this. Like, I want to hear, because like, I mean, Alchemy Fest is something you just got to experience, right?
Sure.
You don't know what it is to it. I'm genuinely open. Like, wow, how was your experience at the Redwoods for Alchemy Fest?
What's funny is my wife goes, so how was it? And I was like, oh, it was great. And she goes, I was like, it just wasn't what I thought. And she goes, what'd you think it was? And I was like, I don't know if I had like an expectation, but I guess I did. And I don't know, I guess I thought it might be a little more like workshop based on like self-development in the way that I have understood self-development, because it was just a different approach to the stuff. So my takeaways were I feel like exactly what I needed for sure, of like a good reset. Like it makes, when you explain like your design behind it, it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, like how connected you get with the people there was, you really did say like at the end of this, you're going to be crazy connected. And I had conversations with people that I would never have had ever. Like, but I was like, it was like in the moment, you were like, oh, like, let's do it. You know?
Yeah.
It was awesome though. I loved it. It really is that, like what you say all the time, like you have to experience it to really understand it kind of thing, but it was great.
Yeah, we had some great moments. I think there was one night we were up pretty late one night in the teepee. You know?
Oh yeah. Till 2:30.
Dude, it's crazy. You know, like I don't know if you were there or you took off, but it was Sunday night was kind of the night we had the DJs going. We had the Moroccan Tea Lounge going. We had Annalisa doing her thing in the teepee, doing readings. We had the campfire going, like the whole vibe, the tree lights were all lit up. Like the vibe was going. And the next morning, I don't know if you know this, but like the next morning we had to meet really early, like say 7:15, we got to get out of here. Right. You were there. Yeah. You'd take off, and we were meeting at 7:15 and she walking out. She comes out of the teepee. Annalisa comes out of the teepee at 7:30 in the morning, finishing her last reading. She had 9 hours straight of like these intuitive life readings. And I was like, what?
We sat down for the card in meditation at 8:30 the night before.
Yeah.
So she went from 8:30 to 7:30.
She went for 11 hours straight.
And I've never seen anything like that in my life.
She's just on another level.
She is, dude.
Yeah, she's on another level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to tie this in together because it's very evident to me, having been in the space, having coached a lot of people, having mentored a lot of people, having been mentored by a lot of phenomenal people, that those who maintain a high level of success for a long period of time really focus on what you shared earlier as the whole person paradigm, right? You'll see guys come in and for a year or two, they might make great money, but then they fall apart, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, but to find real long-term true consistency, it's so much more than making money and knocking doors and business.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm curious how you define your buckets of the whole person paradigm.
How I define
like
them.
What are your buckets? Right. So when I say whole person paradigm, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's all of the major parts of your life that create fulfillment.
Yeah.
Spirituality, you know, a mental development side, emotional development, financial and physical. That's typically what people say, but like I like Dave Allred's lifestyle design template. I use that and I've shared it with so many people because it adds experiences and relationships, which you could cluster in like emotional, but I like that it's its own category on there. So it breaks them up. I think so that'd be seven categories or 8 inside of that. And I think that is the key to true fulfillment, is progressing in those areas. Obviously some might take, you know, it's hard to do all of them perfectly at the same time, but that really is, I think, what life is about. Like, I think what's cool about that template is he has you put on there your purpose statement. Like, what's your purpose?
What is yours?
I love mine, dude. It's, I want to like phrase it better but ultimately it's, my purpose is to grow into the very best version of myself in those areas so I can truly serve. So I can truly serve. Like I love the feeling of giving and progressing. And I think that it is my duty as a husband, a father, a leader, a mentor to my own soul, to God, like that I max out this life in those areas because that's the best way that I can give. It truly, truly is. And I just like, I feel that in my bones. I'm like, man, I want to be able to offer more. And that means that I get to progress, and then I can, like, you can't give what you don't have. So if you want to give marriage advice, give good marriage, like have a good marriage, it's like, and it's crazy, like being in a position, even in door to door, where a lot of my conversations with married guys are about marriage and like offering what I hope is like good advice. Cause I feel like I have a strong marriage, but like in the work, and like that is so fulfilling, So if I could sum that up, like what I said, it's like, I think it's my duty to max out and to in each of those areas.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you've really committed at a deeper level to your personal and growth and development as Josh in order to be of service.
Yeah.
To those around you and help and inspire others.
Be a force for good. Like I like that, you taught me that one. Like, how can you be a force for good when you're limited on the goodness because you don't know what you don't know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like push it. Like what can you really be? Cause then you're going to be able to give so much more. Like I want my kids, like no question, like dad pushed it, like he was able, and I think they'll get other things from other people obviously too, but I just want to be that,
Yeah. It makes me think too, cause it's like you share, if we would have sat down 3 years ago and did this podcast, it's a very different conversation.
Oh dude.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very different conversation. That was only 3 years ago. It's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Right. And you look back at these pivotal moments of your life, when you had your teams lost, you had to re-recruit, and then, where you are now. And it's really like everything is kind of leading us to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, just like on an intuitive level, like where do you think, what role does your situation now play and where you think God or life might be leading you?
What role does my situation play?
Yeah. Like, where do you think this path is going?
I think that I have a lot to offer, and should have an impact on a lot of people. I don't know if like what the number is on that, but like I think that I was meant to have impact, like deep impact. And I use impact more than influence because obviously influence, those like coincide, but the word impact to me just it's just different. I don't know like if I have the words to. You think about something that was impactful, it's like, man, like that changed who I am, or versus like influence, like, oh yeah, like it kind of led me to that, but like deep rooted things. So I think that that's my calling, is like to have an impact on lots of people.
Yeah. I know you do a really good job of that today. And I'm excited to see how that is going to continue in the future as well. On that piece too, right? I know you're a student of life, truly, like you're not just a student of business and leadership, like you are a student of life in all aspects. I would love to hear like pieces of work, podcasts, books, any like snippet of teachings that have really made a lasting impact on you, whether that be in business, health, relationship, all across the board.
Dude, you ready to do another round of this? Like we could do a whole podcast on that. Dude, I think that door to door people are, this will make sense in a second, but like there's so much great information readily available. I mean, like the best information on the planet, and it's taken for granted. We all have access to the same stuff, but it's so weird to me, like why we do or don't apply things that people who are doing way bigger than us, they're suggesting we do them, and we don't do them. Mm-hmm. It just blows my mind, and I'm so guilty of that. Like the life, like the Sunday planning, we can just talk about that. The Sunday planning thing, I've heard for years, and until this year, I do not miss. Like I go every week. And it really is the system that allows you to live your life by design. That's what Sunday planning is. It's a system. And I think people miss that. It reforms your identity. It gets you excited. It makes you have some sort of strategy. You attack like the most important things in your life, like know what they are versus being aimless. And I don't know. I don't know why people hear that and they're like, that sounds great. I'm just not like, and they don't end up doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's a phenomenon. It's weird. But door to door, especially, there's so much stuff out there. But I mean, dude, yeah, Sunday planning would absolutely be one. It's like one of the most impactful things that I've done. And I'm just like kicking myself for not doing it sooner and at a deeper level. Like, I love expounding on that. Not that it's perfect, like you just do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it feels like it's cliche because like people all the time post about their Sunday planning or whatever. It's like, oh, Ba's doing it, Mendez is doing it. It's like, just do it, dude. Like there's a reason for it. But so I would say that. I mean, just understanding the principles in Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. Seems like that was a really impactful book for you.
Oh yeah, it was like one of the first, there's those, how to win friends and influence people type books that are generational, that I think that's not one that you can just read. Like you have to study anything from Napoleon Hill, like, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's like, go study that content. And it just makes so much sense why the people that are doing big things have all studied those books, I think one that is just blowing my mind right now is Untethered Soul.
He's my guy.
Just blowing my
guy.
mind. I'll share experience. Like, I feel like I've always been drawn to like all of this self-development, like business strategy, systems type stuff. And I've always like starved my spirituality until I did my first breath work, which I thought was woo-woo for sure. And I did it. And I'll tell you, I had a profound, like I had a literal conversation with my future self, whether that's like how real that is, doesn't matter to me. It's like what happened to me, that, you are half of the person that you could be, because you're starving the lion is like what the words that came to my mind is like, you're caging a lion because you're starving your spirituality. So just focus on that thing. And I start reading Untethered Soul, and it's like, that was a year ago when I had that first breath work. Was it literally a year ago in like September almost? And I've done some spiritual stuff, like even like Alchemy Fest was very spiritual, but reading Untethered Soul, I'm like, why didn't I read? I didn't know until you said it when you spoke on it. That book is blowing my mind.
I mean, that to me, and one thing, and it feels like you're walking this path, but one thing that I've realized in my evolution is that personal development and spiritual development
Same thing.
are the exact same thing. Whether you realize it or not, whether you want to count on it or not, I don't care. If you're listening to this and you're like, no way, I'm all into the finance. I'm telling you, personal development and spiritual development are the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Right. And Untethered Soul. And it was actually funny. I ran the numbers yesterday because Michael Singer, who's the author, is the most influential person in my life. And it's not even close.
Wow.
Right. It's not even close. I've gone to his Temple of the Universe twice. I've met him. I've listened to all of his books. I've listened to every podcast he's ever done. I've listened to at least 3x. And I did the stats on it. I'm like, I've put in about 8,500 hours into Michael Singer in the last 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And Untethered Soul, I bet I've done, not being sarcastic, I bet I've gone through it 50 times. And every time I go through it, it feels like a brand new book. And the depth. So I'm curious, like what specifically from that book, for those that don't know about it, because for me, that's I always tell people not to be sacrilegious. I'm like, that's my Book of Mormon. Like, truly, right?
Yeah.
So what has that book, what insights, what has that book meant to you?
I started it last week. I'm on chapter 15.
Yeah.
So I've been cruising.
Yeah.
I would say I had never heard it where he'll at the beginning of the book, he'll have you recognize that you have this voice in your mind, and it's like, make it say something, like say help in your mind. You're like, and you're saying it, and it's like the fact that you're hearing it, like now you know that it's separate. And then he does this roommate analogy, and where, and I might butcher it, but basically like you're living with this person that you don't realize that you are living with them, and you're listening to all their advice. But he's like, there's an exercise where he has you make the voice, like your subconscious or whatever, like this voice in your mind, you give it a body, and like separate yourself from it. And you're like, holy shiz. I don't know why that was really impactful for me to be like, this thing gives me terrible advice and it gives me good advice, but it's not me. Yeah. I'm me. It's that, you know, we're separate. That's not me. And like actually noticing that that thing is speaking is, I think, where the whole thing starts to like really get juicy. It's like, oh wow, like that's my anxiety. That's all these things. And, you know, that to me is probably the biggest takeaway so far.
Yeah, I'll share this story. I've never shared this story before, but as I was starting my spiritual journey path in 2017, I'd done a little bit of yoga, I'd done a little meditation. Like I was kind of into it. I think I'd done, at this point, I had done a psychedelic experience, which really really got me really curious because that experience is like unlike anything else. And I went and did a float tank.
Oh,
where you like go get in the float and you like float and you feel like you're kind of floating on nothing and it's pitch black and you're just in silence and you're just in your head. And I'll never forget, I panicked in there because my mind was just racing. And then I had the thought, I'm like, if I'm talking, who's listening? Like if there's a conversation happening in my head, but for a conversation to happen, there needs to be someone there's need to be two objects.
Yeah.
Like who's talking, who's listening. And it freaked me out. Cause I was like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And it caused like massive fear. I'm like, if I'm talking, but I'm listening, but like, how can that be? Cause how's the subject object? And I freaked out and I got out of the float tank because I was just panicked.
Wow.
And I was like talking to a friend about it and they're like, oh, you should read Untethered Soul.
Wow. That's what started you.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, so I grabbed that book and Michael Singer's ability to like explain it.
That. Oh, right at the beginning too. You were probably like, whoa.
I'm like, wait, you're not the voice inside your head. You're the one who observes it. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to believe everything I think.
Dude.
And then from that moment, everything changed. Everything in your life changes. Once you can like really, and it's a really hard, it's really tricky on the front end to like get it. Cause you're like, wait, and it's like confusing. But once you can create that separation between the voice in your head, that you're actually not the voice, you're the observer. That's your whole life changes.
Yeah.
Right. You literally become in flow and be able to be in tune and be in rhythm with life. And it's just incredible. So, I mean, it gets me fired up. You're doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting how much, like we talked about, you know, like confronting the brutal facts, or all it is self-awareness.
Yeah.
Self-awareness really is where the gold is. It's like, and that is a level of it's a deep level of self-awareness. There's this voice in my head. I'm separating myself from it. I'm the observer. Just that alone, like that ability. I mean, dude, you can solve almost all of your own problems through great self-awareness. And it's so sad when you see a narcissist, it's so obvious how little self-awareness they have, you know, and you feel so bad. It's like, dude, they don't see it, but we're actually very similar that way with her. It's just different levels. There's just levels to it. So, you know, a monk who's been in meditation for 15 years hears us talk about this and they're like, you don't even know.
Yeah,
like,
you have no idea.
You have no idea.
You have no idea.
But self-awareness it's such a cool thing when you actually grasp like what that means.
Yeah. You know, we are the observer. No, we are the experiencer experiencing the experience.
That's trippy.
Just like, it's a trippy thing, right? We are a seed of consciousness, part of an infinite ocean of bliss. Untethered Soul, man. It gets me fired up, bro. Well, Josh, I freaking love you, man.
Thanks for having me on, dude.
I love having you out here. I'm so stoked to be working together. I'm so fired up. You came out to Alchemy Fest. I'm so excited for your growth. I know it feels like for me that you're just like scratching the surface.
Yeah.
And I can just feel it when I'm with you, that your level of impact and influence and your ability to help and inspire others. And a lot of people are going to live healthier, happier lives because of you, man. So
dude, that means so much to me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Big love, brother.